Okay, we're ready to go. Okay, I'll read the statement. This is being live streamed and will be available later on. If you're not happy with this, please leave the message at the meeting now. Thank you very much and welcome to you all to the National Park Authority meeting. We're starting with any apologies. Louise House. Louise. And Ivan Glenn as well. Oh no, Ivan is here.
Okay, Louise Hughes, ie? Iawn, dwi'n meddwl bod hwnna. Iawn, does gen i'r cadeirydd? Wel, da ni bod yn neud un ddau o bethau.
Got one or two things. Since the last meeting, we planted the tree in Ysgon with Elfed and Ivan Glenn. There's more in the Chief Executive report, so I don't want to repeat that. I've attended meetings at the North Wales Ambition Board. I've attended 4 recently. I'm also a member of the board as well, and they're quiet at the moment due to the election. Went to Bangor University with the Celtic Rainforest Conference. I met the 3 national park authorities as well. That's what I remember. So we move on to item 2, to the report from the Chief Executive. Thank you, Mr. Chair. As you can see, it just gives you an update, corporate update. Written report. I'll just go 1 or 2 things. You're welcome to come in with anything which is of interest. Nature Estate Wales was launched in March, which is a new body, and the aim of it is to deal with the challenges and the reduction in nature and the challenges that we face in bringing landowners together. So it's quite interesting. It's a very complicated area. We met this week discussing the 30 by 30 nature targets. It's a huge challenge that we need to face. There's a lot of work to be done with it. So I'm glad that these things are happening, but it is a complicated subject or area. No updates, as you can see on point 7 on the task and finish group. I've had a quick chat with them on this, but I hope that there'll be a further update, more detailed update in the next meeting. We work on enhancing point 9, enhancing governance and member accountability. That now has been completed. So we'd hope to have someone from the government in, but due to the restrictions, due to the election, it hasn't been possible. But hopefully that will be possible quite soon. So I'll bring you a full update on this, and we'll have a discussion regarding this matter, and hopefully adopt the guidance as well quite soon. I was aware, moving on to the regional issues on point 11, I was aware that you don't receive many updates or regular updates on the Corporate Joint Committee. So there's an update here. I think this is a good place for me to bring updates to you, unless there is something significant which needs a separate report. So just give you a summary of the meetings that have happened. And hopefully in the meetings will continue in the same manner, and hopefully be useful to you because you haven't received many updates on this in the past. It just gives you a better background of the work right at the beginning there. I attend the Central Committee with the chairman. And then there are 2 other separate groups as well, the Transport Subcommittee and Planning Subcommittee and the Economic Subcommittee. And those are new developments. We don't, no officers attend those. The chair attends them at the moment. Maybe we'll have to formalise those arrangements in the annual general meeting in June. So the week on the strategic planning is developing, is moving onwards. And the work, the main areas within the strategic developments, housing and economy the discussions have started on these. I don't know if it's of use to. I've just included an item on staff recruitment in 26, quite a bit of toing and froing due to the start of the season, visitor season. Quite a few temporary staff appointed. And then just going on, I'd like to thanking you for on point 29. Thank you, grateful to the members for being, because we hadn't appointed a director of corporate services, but we have now. So congratulations to Bethan. And I'd like to thank you as an authority and members for helping us with the interviews. On point 31, the work on Plas Bwlch is moving forward in a positive manner. Naomi's doing a lot of work on this, as you're aware. And I hope that you feel that you are being kept in the loop on this. We have the Members Development Day on this, and thank you to all who attended. I hope it was useful, and there will be a further update in the working group in May. And then we'll present it to the authority in June so that you can take a final decision on moving it forward formally, presenting the application to the lottery. Another lottery grant, Landscape Connections, will also be presented next month, I think, Naomi, is it? In May, yes. I will give an update to the authority in June on this. So that's quite a significant grant. It's worth around 10 million, but we'll bring you more detail on that in the meeting when the time comes. The chair mentioned the Sycamore Gap trees. As you know, the tree which was cut down illegally in Northumberland. Cuttings from the tree have been planted in Rysgon and at all the other national parks in Britain as well. And that's it. We've received a report from Audit Wales on financial sustainability. I've given comments back on that. So when we have the final draft, I'll bring it before the members. And I think you're aware of the Eryri 75 anniversary celebrations. And we just mentioned the conference, which was very successful. I'd like to thank the team for that. It was a great conference, and the team did some fantastic work on this. And just the last point, we've been given the Visible Better Employer standard by the RNIB. So we'd like to thank the team, the HR team for that. And that's the update. Any questions or comments about the report? Okay. I'd like to apologize. I should have said at the beginning. I'd like to congratulate Bethan Hughes for being appointed as a Director of Corporate Services. Okay, we'll move on to item 3. We don't have any, we've had no one in to speak. Haven't had anything with also within the protocol. Number 4, any declarations of interest by members or officers? Okay. I'd like to propose that the minutes of this authority on the 4th of February are a true record. Could someone second this? Can we have a show of hands, please? Anything to note? No? Okay, so we'll move on. Matters arising from. So the action sheet. Thank you, Chair. The action sheet is on page 14 and 15 on the programme. I think that, as John said, both can be taken off now, because as I mentioned in my update, the first one, the work has been completed by the government, and I'll present that to you formally hopefully with a Welsh Government Minister, but if they're not available, I'm happy to do so and bring it before you. And the second one, huge apologies for the delay on this. Sian was so busy on other things, but it has been completed. Due to the restrictions before election, I can't read out your email to you. But once election has passed, I'll click on send and you'll receive the detail on this. It's quite interesting, the figures included within, but we'll hear that again soon. Okay, thank you. Are you happy to take both off? Can we have a show of hands, please? Thank you. So we'll move on to point 8. This is for information, the calendar of meetings. Anyone like to say anything on this? No? Okay. We move on to item 9. Eryri Nature Recovery Action Plan. Elin Smith and Rhys Owen will lead on this. Good morning, everyone. Can you hear me okay? Right. I'm going to share my screen, so hopefully this will work.
Di pawb yn gweld screen wan?
Can everybody see the screen? No.
Okay. Gael fi drio hynny eto chi.
Mae Elin yn tanio hwnna i fyny.
Elin is firing this up. I'll just take this opportunity to present Elin to you. You haven't met her, or a number of you haven't met her already. Elin is our biodiversity officer in the department, and she's leading on the Eryri Nature Recovery Plan and also the programs, the Local Places for Nature, which is funded by Welsh Government. She's quite shy of presenting herself. We've taken the opportunity today for you to meet her and get a taste of the work that she's doing within the authority. So Elin will lead on this item. If you have any difficult questions, it's quite possible that I'll answer those. Can you all see the screen now? Yes, thank you.
So,
just to give you an overview and some background of what the Nature Restoration Plan is and how it fits into our work in the authority.
So,
what is the Nature Recovery Plan? It's a statutory document in line with the Wales Nature Recovery Plan, which covers the whole country. It falls into the well-being and the climate nature. By the documents outline the objectives which have been set by Welsh Government, but in a local context here in Eryri. Setting priorities for nature that we have here in Eryri. So that it takes the place of the local biodiversity plan, the LBAPs, maybe you remember those. And it's in line with the national targets up to 2030. It's a dynamic document, as it says on the slide, and it means that it enables us to make any additions as required, as targets and legislation changes on the national level, and also ties in very closely with Cynllun Eryri, with the aims, with its aims included in that document.
So just
to give you a background of the structure and how it's set out, the first part gives you an introduction talking about what biodiversity is, what the action plan for nature recovery is, and who is it for. The second one, we move into the habitats and the reduction in nature in general. And the part 3 concentrates on the key pressures affecting biodiversity in Eryri. The fourth part is the Eryri Action Plan, the NREP,
Eryri a'r cynllun gweithredu cyffredinol.
and the General Action Plan.
A hefyd, rhan sy'n dweud fatha sut y
And
gallwch
this
chi
is the
gymryd
part,
rhan,
but
sut i cael
but it
anelu at
notes
bobl,
how you can take
fel
part.
unrhyw really, so
It aims toward
cofio
anyone really,
gweithredoedd,
individuals,
cymunedau,
businesses,
llefydd,
communities,
lefrigedd,
farms, forestry.
ysgolion. So ma'n llawn
schools.
llwyth o links fel bod o
It- It's full of different links, so that's available for anyone to use as a tool, really. And the last part is how we will deliver and monitor the work. We've tried to set it out in a way which makes it easy to understand, so that everyone can understand it. And the intention is to get the technical information and the more detailed information attached over time as attachments. This document looks at as a strong basis that we can build upon. And then the information on habitats and species will be added on top of that. So these are the main objectives, or the primary objectives of the Wales NRAP. There are 6 main objectives, and now General Action Plan for Eryri, part 4.3 of the document, has been set out under these objectives and uses these objectives as headings. All the actions which we have under these objectives have been developed jointly with Eryri Nature Partnership. And this was one of the main pieces of work as we developed this plan. So I'm just showing what the initial process was. Right at the beginning, the first version of this document was drafted at the beginning of 2024. And then we held 3 task groups, specifically with specialists or experts, in order to get the information and their opinions as we drew up the plan and agreed on the action, the steps to be taken and the structure of the plan. And then we all decided on the main aims, or the main aim, which was to increase the diversity and abundance of nature and improve ecological resilience throughout Eryri. This corresponds with the aim in Cynllun Eryri, so it ties both plans in together. Maybe some of you remember giving feedback, but following that, the feedback and feedback from partners, we had a public consultation on the latest draft in June 2025. And this was part of one of the symposiums which were held. Were a series of events under Cynllun Eryri. We had an opportunity there for drop-in sessions, and people could voice their concerns or give suggestions and have a general discussion about the plan. The public consultation was held between June and July, about an 8-week period. So looking to the future, we intend to publish this main NRIP document, and then we'll draw up a timeline, a specific timeline for achieving the targets over the next 5 years. 30 by 30, which will contribute to the 30 by 30. We also want to develop specific actions for each Eryri habitat profile during 2026 and possibly on to 2027 with Eryri Nature Partnership. So this will correspond with the Welsh Government's requirements in order to draw up the habitat profiles. We hope to draw up a profile for each significant habitat and develop those for specific habitats within Eryri. Just make a list, a quick list. This is a quick list of some of the habitats that we possibly look at, because they need to be discussed in full. But maybe the profiles could look like something like this. Mountains and highlands, peatlands, the coastline, farmlands, lowlands, forestry.
ychwanegol i'r ddogfen sylfaenol.
And these can be
sydd wedi
added and
bod wan,
attachments to the main document that you see now,
gwybodaeth technegol,
with the technical
yr
information,
targede a'r
including the
cynllun cysylltu ar
targets
gyfer
and the action plan
gweithredu
for each
awduriaeth
habitat.
yn
And then the
ffurfio
species will fit into under those.
A wedyn, drwy wneud hyn, fydd hyn yn helpu
And by drawing it up like this, it will help to guide the authorities' work and their partners as well, and that also help us to manage our resources and set up projects which correspond with the actions within the plan and work towards the Welsh Government's targets and the 30 by 30 target as well. So I hope that that makes sense.
Yeah, cwestiynau.
Any questions?
Yeah.
Would anyone like to ask a question or make any comments? Just a quick, I'd like to thank you for all your work on this. And the report looks fantastic. Thank you, Elin. Just like to say, this is a great start, a strategic start. And you know, the challenge on now is to turn it into action. So I'm looking forward to see the work which will happen and the plans that will come out of this, and how we'll draw down funding to conduct this work. Because without resources and funding, it will be very difficult. Thank you. I've been part of a number of schemes over the years, Tir Gofal, etc. We've seen a lot of the reports over the years, but nothing seems to be working on ground level. Why? Because I've lost control of my land 40 years ago when it was made into a triple SI. Nobody listens to the farmers. They take different decisions. So that it'd be better for people to listen to who farm, who know the land, about the land, and farm it every day, rather than looking at documents and people from colleges coming down to tell them exactly what to do, who have no idea about the landscape. I feel that we've lost, some farmers knew where nature was, and they were, but we've lost the expertise of the people who came down from generation to generation. And I feel that it's quite sad, really, because very few young people have an interest in agriculture. So we're losing the young people who are used to working on the land. I think we need to go back to basic. But thank you very much for the report. But I think we should go back to basics. We should cooperate and not tell farmers what they have to do and what they shouldn't do, because it never works on paper. Elin, do you want to respond to those, or do you have any further questions?
Yeah, the bwriad ydi cael...
I think the intention is to set up partnerships and get partners to work on the different actions, and they include farmers' unions and farmers as well, and give an opinion and their angle on what the action should be for different aspects. Thank you, Elin, for the report. The plan looks fantastic and it reads well. I just want to know, really, is there any specific work on the LIFE project that comes out of this? Do you see the work expanding from the LIFE project? Maybe I'll come on this on behalf of Elin, because it crosses over to the other team's work, really, if you don't mind. Yes, the LIFE project is coming to an end next year, and obviously part of the last piece of work, or the most important piece of work, really, that we'll have now, is to plan the afterlife plan, as they call it, which is a plan which will take us, give us an overview and show what the needs are, what is required to maintain the work which has already happened through the LIFE project. Naomi mentioned there, and John also mentioned, that we have an application being put in for the lottery grant for Connecting Landscape Connections Fund. I've just come from a meeting about that. We hope to develop that so that we can concentrate on the rainforest, the Celtic rainforest areas, But it's a difficult balance because obviously the Lanners don't want to fund the afterlife plan in full. They want to see the lottery slant on it. And there's a lot of work about regarding communities and cultures and heritage, which is included in the lottery's work. So it won't be the full answer, but we hope that it'll be part of the response, because if the scheme is approved, it would be a 10-year plan, which will give us a longevity to maintain these areas. But in the afterlife plan, we will need to identify which resources need to be put in to maintain the investment that we've already made and to carry the work forward. The advantages are quite a few of these areas. We will be eligible for smaller funding pots over time. So there is a potential that we could tap into things like the National Grid funding to support different elements of our work. I think the concern is that we've left Europe, we've lost our mechanism of drawing down European funding for these longer, larger projects, which is a concern. But we have been quite careful by conducting the LIFE project that we leave ourselves in a place where we can defend the investment which has already been made. But it's a question if we can take it forward to the next step and do more in these areas. But we can certainly protect what has already been done and secure it so that we can move forward on it. I hope that gives you an answer. Thank you. I'm very pleased to hear that. Thank you. So his name is down now.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Yes. I know that you have meant. Okay. Yes. You have mentioned the sites of scientific interest, the specific, the important sites to us, but I don't see clearly where you have mentioned species of interest, because we're talking about recovery and recovery plan. I think it's important that we have species of critical interest to us in Ireri. And I don't know whether you have recent surveys or the partners you're working with have recent surveys on how those species are doing. You can use the IUCN categorization to tell us how they are doing, and then let us see how this plan will go ahead to protect them, or at least show some progress of recovery. That's what I missed. I don't know whether it's there, but when I read through, I didn't particularly pick on that.
Yeah, so no, that's a fair point. That's what we're hoping to develop this next year or so with partners with their expertise, because not one person can tell exactly where every species is at and where their condition is. So that would then be the additional information added as appendices at the end for the more technical work. So that, yeah, if you wanted to know specifically what habitat has this species, and then what are we doing to protect that species? Does that make sense?
Yes, I think what will be very clear to us is to see that this is what the species are, how they are, and what they are. So an initial survey before everything else will be critical.
Yeah.
So the first step is a survey to show us where this, how these landscapes are doing, where the species are. That will be a first step before everything else.
Yeah. The main issue we have with initial surveys is, again, resourcing. That's a lot of work, and it can come down to a lot of money as well. So we don't have that baseline currently, and that's what we're trying to work towards. But it's a big partnership working, because not one organisation has the capacity and the resources to do that themselves at the moment.
Na I just dod I mewn o fan'na os gai, Mr Cadeirydd, I ychwanegu chdi bach.
If I can just come in there to add a little bit to that. Data in general is a problematic area for us. We've heard already that there are problems with information regarding the quality and standard and the condition, because no survey has been undertaken on 50% of them. And habitat information is difficult to get because the monitoring work hasn't been undertaken during the past few years as a whole. There are a lot of data for birds, but there are other species where we don't have the expertise and we don't have that data available, or it isn't fully available to us as a park. And we have to be aware what's out there and what dates relate to that. We don't have the resources, like Helen said, to undertake surveys on the number of species in relation to resources or budgets. But what we do is use other organizations' information to form where we are now. The State of the Park report is crucial in that sense. But the intent is, with the next phase of the work, that we note the main habitats such as peatlands, and within that classification we'll be using key indicator species in order to monitor and undertake surveys and report back how those conditions are improving. We can't do it on everything. There's Section 7 for the areas are huge, and we have hundreds and hundreds of species, so we have to use the main species as the canary in the coal mine, so to speak, in order to report back on what all the others are doing in relation to those. We have to do as much as we can with the resources that we have. In addition to what Rhys has mentioned, Tirweddau Cymru, Landscapes Wales are working with NRW in order to enable them to release data to us, because we know that there is a gap. There is an interesting paradox. On the one hand, there is too much data, which is too difficult to work through. On the other hand, there isn't enough data. There's so much data for the baseline of the State of the Park report, which has been made public already, of course. We don't know what the date or the timetable is, but the data will be available for the SSSIs as well. And we'll get those for the various landscapes as well. And that will inform the next phase of our work as well. Thank you.
Can I recommend? Yes, if I may, maybe you should rely on secondary data for now. So find out what is out there and then just do an analysis of it. And then you can identify the gaps and then work on it forward.
Yeah, as Naomi just mentioned, that baseline data, which was collected by Atmos Consulting for the State of the Park report, that has been analysed, and that is what we have at the moment. And not clear enough for a lot of specialists to sort of decide where they want to go based on that data alone. There, needs to be more work done. I hope that answers your question.
Does anybody else want to comment? This is sad for naturists because farmers don't want to see bad reports either. We want to see improvement, so it's sad for everybody involved with the natural world. Can I just make a comment? I do feel that this is a brilliant report. It encompasses a lot of elements. I'm not going to give my opinion on the detail. One thing that drew my attention was 4.4, how you can take part. And I do feel, fair enough, having a document like this to stand on its own feet is important. But of course, we need to relate it to people and communities. And I think that 4.4 is crucially important to that, because it makes recommendations and what we can all do and what farmers can do. And the only comment that I have in relation to that section, I don't think there's enough being said about what visitors can do. Visitors are noted and recognised in that section as a part of the spectrum of people who influence the park, but I don't feel that 4.4 proposes something that visitors can do for biodiversity. So I just wanted to make that comment, really. Thank you very much for that.
Just Andros y sydyn,
Just really quickly,
I'm looking points hollol amlwg wrach, a mae'n cael ei...
I'm perhaps noting a really obvious point, and it's been raised by several speakers. I said when I started this post, nature recovery is the main priority of this authority, and this is our statutory purpose, and we need to do that whilst collaborating with landowners, farmers, others as well. Resources is the biggest issue here. We had an interesting session earlier on with NRW this week about the issue about the 30-30. We haven't had a detailed session about 30-30, but I think we need a specific session on that. It's very complex. It's difficult. So, the idea is to get 30% of the landscape designated for nature and under effective management. That's the most crucial element by 2030. We're so far from being there yet now, and there's time pressure. And to do that effectively, we really need resources, significant additional resources. And we need to collaborate in a different way on a strategic level. We are willing to do so, and we're willing to work with all of the different organizations. It is a priority for us. It's a priority for me. I think we as an authority need a specific session on this in a working group to discuss the finer detail. It's not simple. We need resources. We're on it, but it's not going to be an easy journey. And we'll provide you with more information and further discussions during the next year, because there's so much work that needs to be done on this. Tim, just to add to what John has said, it's crucially important. It's crucially important to our life on this planet, because otherwise there won't be any food, there won't be any farmers. The key to everything is money. There's a new government coming in Cardiff, hopefully soon, whatever colour that will be. But they have to take this seriously. I've been working in the conservation world for 40 years nearly, and it's always been a priority, but there's never enough money to make a difference. And if the money isn't put into it, then this is something that's lovely and is sitting on the shelf that's doing nothing. So if you have any way of speaking into the ear of a party that may be running Welsh Government in the future, the message is clear. They need to take this seriously when it comes down to the nitty-gritty, because it's really important. Because otherwise we might as well give up. Okay, anyone else? Thank you. On to the recommendation to adopt the report. Will anybody propose that? We do have a seconder here. Can we have a show of hands, please? Motion carried. On to the community engagement strategy. Gwenno. Yes, I'm on the screen with you today. Can you hear me? Great. Thank you. Thank you for your time this morning. I'm aware that I've attended the working group in January, so a lot of you will be familiar with the community engagement strategy from that session. And we got a lot of really useful comments from that to make adaptations to the strategy. And you can see that those adaptations have been made and revisions. But perhaps if you weren't present in the working group, I thought I'd run through the paper really quickly to draw out the main points, and then you'll have an opportunity to ask questions if you want. With regard to the strategy itself, it's not a statutory document, but what it does is provide a framework for an effective way of engagement across the authority. The work has been ongoing for about a year now, since the beginning of 2025, about around May time, and I've had input and advice from members of the staff of the authority, including the leadership team and the members. I've also had comments from Forum Eryri, and Dana Jones has also giving us our comments. I've also had quite a lot of comments and input from communities, and this has shaped communities to its current form. And you can see in the papers in front of you, it's been structured. We have the ideas and the ideology at the beginning, why engagement is important, and the second part is deepening engagement. I know that you had a lot of interest in that the last time I gave you a presentation. And then section 3, it will be implementing the framework itself. And of course, we have that implementation framework and how we intend to monitor and evaluate the strategy. We wanted this document to be as practical as possible and not to be on a shelf. And I know that's difficult when you create a strategy, but I wanted to make it a useful strategy that's useful for staff and members, and that's why we've included the appendices at the end of the document as well, which helps with understanding the initial sections, as well as good organizational practices and useful resources that staff and members can use if they arrange community engagements or engagement events at all. It's really important to use this document in the induction of staff and members as well, moving forward. So what we want really, although a lot of good work is going on, and that's under Appendix 3, we still need to strengthen the relationship between the authority and the community and ensure that the engagement has the right type of engagement, and that's done purposefully and timely. And we want to provide opportunities for everybody to contribute to the future of Eryri, including young people. That's an important part of the process, especially underrepresented groups. We had the conference in January to start on this work, and this will progress as well. And we will be creating a statement of purpose for the work in relation to inclusivity and access. And what I want is to share good learning practices, resources, and stop duplicity and the inconsistency between the sections, and create opportunities for engagements that are inclusive and accessible to all. Importantly, it fits in with the other parks plans. It's been developed with Cynllun Eryri, and that's the revision of that plan, and also the local development plan, in order to ensure that the terminology that we use is consistent across the strategic plans. I'm just trying to think if there's anything else useful. From the feedback I got from the working group, some of the things that you mentioned was that you wanted to include additional stakeholders, which have been included. I've also included Aarhus 1998 as right at the end of the document as well. And you also mentioned that you wanted to include training for members as well as staff as a part of the process, and that's also in the implementation framework, and I've changed the some elements as a result of the feedback from Cynllun Eryri and Fforwm Eryri. But it is a live document, and there will be changes made to this document. We don't want it to be a static document because we'll be learning and monitoring as we go on. And one thing that's really important as the implementation strategy is the continuity, and we recognize that there are some things that will need to change. So what we want now is to deliver the strategy. And then if you're happy to accept the recommendation, hopefully we'll be able to adopt the strategy as the strategy for the authority. Thank you. Any comments or questions from anybody?
I attended anyway, fantastic document, coming from what we have done in January. I attended the workshop in the university, and I found it very useful. What is not very clear to me, and I think I raised it there, is how you want to work with the partners, whether you're working with them as a collective or working with them separately, each partner separately. Because one of the things that I noticed was that some of the partners that were in the room had some sort of sports that were not inclusive. I think I raised it with a particular presenter where almost all the sporting activities they do, the outdoor activities, were water-based, sort of. And I felt that for Black and brown people, they can't relate with those sort of sports, So that's the sort of thing I'm asking. Are you going to find a way to get people to understand what each group needs from each other, and then you being the rallying point or being the organizer of that so that everybody benefits?
Yeah, diolch Salamatu.
Thank you, Salamatu. I don't know if everybody attended the conference, but we did have a conference in January on inclusivity access in the national park. And we had a lot of different partners. They were all invited to the Reichel Hall, and we had presentations and workshops during the day. And this work is really important to us. So we're really at the beginning of this work, but it was a joint conference with the Outdoor Partnership, and this is what Salamatu is referring to here. So where we're at the moment is we are ready to send out an update to the partners this week. We've been waiting for a bit of feedback from the outdoor partnerships that they're happy with what's been created up to now. There will be an update on the intent statement, and we'll be working jointly with them. And there will be work happening as a result of this, but we don't know how that will look at the moment. But I know through the outdoor partnership that they do offer a lot of outdoor activities, and it's comments that we can relate to them, certainly. And I do know that they certainly offer activities that are not water-based, but maybe that was quite strong in the presentation, but we'll pass on those comments. But this work and the engagement, community engagements work will also sit together, and they will intertwine together. I hope that answers your question. Tim? I think it's a really good piece of work. It's building on the good work that's been done by the park historically. Developing it jointly is crucial to what we've done with Cynllun Eryri as well. Over quite a few years, people have had consultations. What do you think of this, that, and the other? And things haven't changed. But Eryri has made a major step forward with developing these plans together. And that takes a lot of time, a lot of resources. And it's really worthwhile doing that, because it means that you are able to have real partners rather than people buying into partnerships. And I think that this document is moving to that way of working. It's not suitable for all, of course, but if we can build on this and move it forward, especially when we mentioned the nature recovery, it would mean that we would get so much more out of what we do as a park, and people are working with us for the future. Thank you, Ivar Glyn. Thanks, Gwenno. This is fantastic. I just wanted to ask a specific question, really. Is there a strong link, I can't see it in the report, with the health board? Everything seems to be circulating around some element with them. As a section, ETA, our well-being and volunteering officer is sitting on the prescribing board. I don't know the details fully, but she, ETA that is looking at what we can do in that field of work, so that will be happening. And she really wants to move that forward. And I'm sure that that will come to the authority or a working group pretty soon. And it fits really well with the well-being act as well. I know that physical health is really important in relation to mental health. We're also working with Age Friendly Gwynedd, where there's a partnership that works with older people. We've been in residential homes undertaking, bridging the various generations. There's a lot of information that we don't always share, but obviously through all of this work, awareness will be raised. Create a reel as well, maybe. Thank you. Thanks, Gwenno, for running through that. I enjoyed reading this strategy, I have to say. It makes perfect sense. And it flows. I feel that the terminology at the beginning was really important. One of the things that confuses people is the difference between engagement and consultation. And I think that is defined clearly in that section. I also feel that it recognizes that participation and isn't always able to influence the end results, and that comes out well in the strategy. And it also considers the language elements well as well. One comment on the back of the positive things. I'm not sure if I can see enough about consulting with young people. There's reference to young people throughout, but we may be losing an opportunity regarding how that works. There are different elements to engaging with young people. In section, Appendix 5, there's reference to young people as a section that is underrepresented. And as the strategy is developed, perhaps we could add a piece there. And there may be a checklist. There is a checklist on page 36 of the strategy regarding what makes a good strategy and what makes engaging with young people, how we do it well. That is the part that I would suggest we need to strengthen. But I do recognize that I was not in the working group in January, and I do apologize for that. I really feel that it's very inclusive, and I am willing to propose it, but I do feel that we could strengthen the young people element. Just one small comment. There are no photo of people in the strategy from such a page on, and if we're putting the emphasis on people and engagement and communities, I'd like a photo. I apologize for that. That's just aside. I know it's a menial comment really, but I just wanted to make the comment. I agree, and we did change the photos, but with the stock photos that we had to go with what we had at the time. We've had a lot of events since then, so that will possibly in the next one, because we have a lot more of photos.
O ran y sylw am pobl ifanc, ia, cytuno, a mi fydd gennym ni swyddog pobl ifanc yn cychwyn efo ni ganol mis Mai.
And we will have a young people's officer joining us and soon this year, and that's when we will possibly review the strategy again. I was reading the report. I didn't see anything about the young far. Because they are the native people. They will continue and keep the communities alive. It'd be good to hear what the native people have to say, and the communities. And the young farmers are doing really good work in their rural communities. And I think it's really important that you get their opinion in there as well.
I'm just thinking of how the community engagement strategy can benefit the nature recovery plan. So I just put it down in two ways. One, if you know what the sort of the mission and strategies your partners are using, for example, if they're interested in a particular landscape or species, you can actually work with them for them, because I think there has been the issues of funding coming up. So with finance, they already, all these partners have ways to look for grants or have monies here and there. You can actually work very closely with the nature recovery team to see how they can engage with what we're trying to achieve with the nature recovery plan. And that I also feel can be sustainable, because if they take a species or landscape or whatever for a long time, then they can drive the recovery of that particular landscape or species. So I think you're very closely related in terms of what you want to achieve.
Yeah. Cytuno, salamat, so diolch yn fawr, a gobeithio fyddwn ni
Yes, I agree, and hopefully we'll be working closely with Elin on that section. Thank you. So we do have a proposer. Please proposed, and we have Meryl has seconded that. Can we have a show of hands, please? Thank you very much. Motion carried. Item 11.
Dewi Morgan a Sian.
Dewi Morgan will take this, and Sian, is Sian here? So Dewi will take this. Over to the man with the money. Thank you very much, Chair. These are the final statement of accounts presented for your approval. It's not a typo. They are the accounts for 23-24. There has been a delay in the accounts being approved due to a slip which happened about 3 to 4 years ago. So the catch-up is happening, and it's proving quite challenging. I think 22-23 accounts were approved in 22-23. So at this stage we can't catch up because we have to go from year to year. It takes a year to get them through for approval, unfortunately, due to the capacity and the size of the team. These were presented in the authority in December 2025, and with their content, there's much to be added since we have gone through them on that date. And I don't want to go before what Matt and Dan are going to say I do feel that we have done quite an effort. As I said, we're a very small team in the finance team. And as I say each time, the size of the account, the size of a complexity as the same as a county council account. So for a small team like this, it's quite a challenge. And the work, we did receive external help this time. I feel that that has been beneficial, but I'd let our friends from Audit World to say if I'm correct in saying that. I think there's a feeling that the quality of the accounts have been better for 23-24. And so what I'm asking you to do is to say it's in part 5 of the report there, on page 90. The main things that we want you to do as an authority today is to approve and note the content of the ISA 260, as it call it, which is the external auditor's opinion on our accounts and on the correctness of our accounts. And secondly, once you approve that report, to consider if you're happy to approve the statement of accounts based on what you've heard from the auditors. And if you are happy with this, the third thing that you'd ask you to do is to authorize the chair of this meeting, along with myself as the Chief Finance Officer, to certify the letter of representation. So there are 3 things really that we're asking you to do today. But what I would say, Mr. Chair, I wouldn't ask you to do anything until you've heard from Matt and Dan. So we'll move on to item 12 immediately, and then we'll come back to the... I didn't know that we had any ISAs. So we'll go to Audit Wales. It's Rachel isn't here now. Matthew and Dan are here today. Yes. Over to you. Thank you very much. Matthew is on mute. You're on mute, Matthew.
Sorry.
Can you hear me now? Yes. Thank you very much. At last. Yes. Thank you, Chair. And good morning, members of the authority. It's great to join you today. As Dewi mentioned, we just present the report, which summarizes the main conclusions of the audit, the statement for 23-24. And I'd like to present Daniel Price on the screen today. He's led on this work, and I'm sure that Dan will just take you through the main elements of the report in a minute. But before we summarize the main conclusions, I'd like to thank Dewi Shan and the finance team and the officers of the authority for the cooperation and the support through the whole audit. As Dewi mentioned, we've just completed the work on 23-24. The moment is somewhat behind schedule, but we do appreciate the work that the officers and the support to help us to help you to draw the work forward. And we have a plan over the coming year now to catch up with the rest of the sector as well. And as Dewi mentioned, once we've approved the accounts today, the General Intercomtant will certify the accounts tomorrow, which is good news and a good result, and it reflects really that the quality of the accounts has improved this year. This has been set out in the report, and also that gives the authority in a better position to catch up its preparation for the statement accounts for 23-24, 24-25 and 25-26. I'll draw Dan in now, maybe to draw your attention to some of the significant points, and I'm happy to take any questions at the end. Thank you, Dan.
Gret, diolch Matt.
Yes, thank you, Matt.
Fel Matt 'di sôn,
As Matt's
jyst yn
mentioned,
amlygu y prif
I'm just
bwysau
to draw your
o'r
attention to the
adroddiad,
main points from the audit,
dudalen
which starts on page 202 in your package. They could start on page 207. It set out the materiality threshold, which is 236,000 for the audit 23-24, and it sets out the areas within the account which can be put for users.
Partïon gysylltiedig a cydnabyddiaeth ariannol ac y lefel sydd wedi cael ei dewis.
And the level which has been set out for.
Ar dudalen 208.
On page 208, I'd like to draw your attention that most of the improvements for 23-24 deal with the differences between the accounts and the work papers rather than the technical accounting issues. And also we noticed there was better promptness in general regarding our regarding inquiries. I'd like to thank Dewi and the team for their help to complete these accounts. On page 210, this just draws your attention to how we've complied with the ethical standards, as noted in the audit plan, which was shared in November. A member of the team had a friend who worked for the authority, but additional safeguarding process that we put in place that ensured that the impartiality wasn't compromised, objectivity wasn't compromised. The next one, page 211, draws attention to the auditors, which are set out in the audit plan again in November, and set out the work which has been done around these and the outcomes. On page 216 is an appendix of the amendments made to the corrections made, even though the figure is a significant one due to the impact of the asset ceiling. The overall impact on the balance was 278,000, which just ensured that the transactions were appropriate within the accounts. So the main themes are the rest of the recommendations to do with the difference between the accounts themselves and the work to back those up. And then lastly, it's been stated on page 127 in the package, Appendix 4 includes a letter with comments. These are standard ones. We haven't included any additional ones. So as Matt said, that the General Auditor will sign this off tomorrow if the accounts are approved today. So those are the main points and the themes I'd just like to draw your attention to within the package. So I'll hand you back over to Matt in case there are any further comments or any questions that you have. Thank you, Dan. So I think you've drawn attention to everything which is important within the report, but I'd like to thank once again, Dewi once again, and happy to take any questions. So does anybody have any questions or comments to be made? The first thing on page 8 of the report, or 209 in the pack, you mentioned the word the qualified. I think it should be unqualified. Yes, it should be unqualified, yes. I think the qualified is included in the English one. We'll change that. Thank you for drawing our attention to that. I think that's I know that within the regulations we need to complete our accounts by May or July the following year, financial year. And there are good reasons for why the accounts should be done in a timely manner. I am concerned that we're still, a year forward, we're not catching up. Of course, that does impact a number of things in terms of the budget and roll on. So the open balance from a year to 2 years ago, which haven't been audited. It does impact, I should think, on how people see us as an authority. And I just thought that maybe to propose, I don't know if that's it's reasonable on the auditor's perspective and the team, the finance team, that we complete 24, 25, 25, 26 by March next year, even if they're in draft. We know that We know that so that the auditor can look at them, and then next year, then follow the timetable. You know, I know Dewi said that there's a lot of work with it. So, you know, I think that it's important that even though that maybe that we have to put more resource into this so that it gets us back on track and within the relevant timeline within the year. Because this is a rule which has been set out by the government, and we shouldn't ignore it. So I think it's important as an authority that we do follow what the government has asked us to do, as we do with everything else. I'm not sure if Dewi wants to come back with that, but from our opinion in Audit Wales, we can agree that it is important that the state accounts are presented in a timely manner in order to help the users to understand, and other bodies can understand the situation, and other bodies do complete them within the year. The auditor has written to John as the Chief Executive and the Chief Executive across Wales within the local government sector to emphasise the importance of catching up and preparing accounts in a timely manner. So we are working now with Sian and with Dewi to agree at a timetable as we move forward, because it is important that the authority does catch up. I'm not sure, Dewi, if we have agreed upon a timeline to date, but I think we all agree the importance of maybe trying to complete everything by the end of March for 25/6, including 24/25. There are risks with that, but we're working on a plan to ensure that the timetable is useful to us all as we move forward. I agree, yes, yeah. I think that we need to do as much to get an external resource in to help us for this next set. I think it's shown that it's shown here that we need to do that. And as we move on, the momentum is there that we're able to continue. The problem is that we want to be in a situation where we 24/25, but in April 27, we want to caught up at all. I think we all understand that. I think it's a matter of fitting things in. You know, we've got other work to do as well as doing this and trying to fit it in. And the auditor's timetable as well, because they have 22 county councils to do and a lot of other public bodies as well. So it's trying to fit the work in within everyone's timetable and when they're available to complete the work. But yes, definitely, I agree. As Matt said, it is this image that we're 2 years behind with our accounts isn't a good message to give out. I am confident that we do have the information, you know, that we can present. We know where we are financially. It's not as if it's new. No, we are confident that we can provide information, but what we don't have is the external, the independent audit that Audit Wales do for the ISA 246, you know, so that we can give the message out that we have been audited and we're happy to present information. Anyone else? So I'd agree. Do we agree with the proposal that we have an ambition to complete the draft accounts for March next year? You know, except that the auditors' work won't have completed it because they possibly won't have the capacity to complete it. But so that we can complete 26 and 27 within the timely one. I think that's something that we need to discuss rather than take a decision now. I think that we need to discuss it there so that we can set a timeline and say that what we want to do. But today we don't want to provide a timeline that we just can't deliver. From what I've heard in the report, I think there's a ongoing discussion now between the finance team and Audit Wales. So I think that I would agree that we bring an update report within 6 months so to have an idea where we stand on that. Isn't it possible to do within the 6 months? Because an update won't do anything. But if we could audit it earlier, in September possibly, if we give you an update report in September's report, and then you can consider now where we stand But in a way that that you receive regular reports. So do we accept that we're not following the rules? You know, we're not, you know, we understand that we're not corresponding with the regulations. As a team, we have set aside the significant funding and we have used an external partner because we seem that we have benefited from that. But I think that we bring an updated report accepting that we'll continue with regular discussions with Audit Wales in the meantime. Anyone else? So we'll go back now to the recommendation on page 90 on the report. Would anyone like to propose?
Sorry, mi fydd adrodd diweddari.
So the updated report, that can be part of the proposal that it's an updated report. We can add it as an updated report to the recommendation. So that will bring an updated report to the authority in September. The point that you made earlier, which has been said by
audit opinion, we intend to issue a qualified audit opinion. Os yna anghywir, mae angen nodi hynny, dwi'n credu, dwi'n angen cadarnhad na hynny.
I think we need confirmation on these points.
Yeah, qualified.
We need to make a note of the unqualified rather than qualified on page 209. In the English version, yes.
Mae'n diamod yn Gymraeg, unqualified audit.
Two letters, but they're two very important letters, which are missing from the English version. So take it that that has been done. Meryl has proposed to receive, and Gwyn a second. Can we have a show of hands? That has been carried. Thank you very much. So we'll move on to item 13. And Bethan, who is taking this? Thank you very much. Just an overview, just give you some background though. We have drawn up some policies to be reviewed following Audit Wales comments this year. So it's the first of the two policies which are on the programme today to be reviewed. As you can see on the report, we have followed the legislative requirements to ensure that the policy is current and correct. You also see that we don't require an anti-fraud framework since we're a small authority, but there are objectives which are good practice objectives. So I've included those in the policy under 9.2. I think that we have a very healthy environment here, which gives us a strong basis for this report. And apart from those changes, I've included a few things like examples in the policy to make it easy to understand, especially to members of staff, what we mean when we talk about different things. And those are the only changes that have been made to this. The Standards Committee have considered it and have approved it already. So I'm very happy to take any questions or comments from myself. But I'd like to draw your attention to the recommendation 2.2. It isn't quite right, so apologies for that. It should read to approve the policy, the anti-fraud policy, bribery and corruption policy for adoption. Thank you very much. Anyone? Any comments, any questions? I think it's very clear what is seen. Thank you very much for this. And the examples are fantastic. It just makes it clear for everyone if there is any doubts about what means what. And I'd like to propose that we adopt it.
Meryl and Elio.
Meryl will second that.
Ewch chi ddangos os gwelwch yn dda?
Can we have a show of hands, please?
Diolch yn fawr.
Thank you very much.
Awn ni mlaen, da ni nôl at beth.
So we'll move on. We'll go back to Betha now with the and on the same. This is a second policy to be considered, the confidentiality reporting policy, which is connected to the first policy, really. One runs into the other. I think it's really important that we do have get a process in order, which makes it clear and gives people assurance that if they do bring any concerns forward, or the reports any illegal acts, that we will protect them when they do so. Once again, I've reviewed the requirements, the legal requirements in this area, and there's no need for any significant changes to the policy. The only thing that I have changed, made a few adaptations just to make the terms consistent, and included some extra examples in this as well, in the same manner, so that it's clear for everyone what we mean by different things. Once again, the recommendation is to approve the confidential reporting policy, the revised policy for submission, for adoption, sorry. Just one quick question. I've gone through quite a few of these. A lot of them get with individuals.
Well, then, or chance lots of the name of execs, develop all of that. People get
Sometimes the different bodies have named them champions, or people can approach, like chief execs, as someone that someone can approach if they're not happy with going to the line manager. No, we haven't considered that, but if you're happy with if you as members would like something like, we could incorporate it in. I take it that it's good practice, and I've seen it working in the authorities that I've sat on the boards of, and I've seen it working. Anyone else? Just a quick question. Just the training for staff members and ourselves as members, how to identify it and how to do something about confidential. Is there any training? Or online training? We don't have an online course. It's something we can look into. So it would raise awareness, wouldn't it, among staff members if we developed such a course? I think it's a good idea. Yes. I think this is a full policy, and thank you for bringing it before us. Just one of the things I wanted to draw attention to, and I think it's natural to think that this deals with the previous policy, but it doesn't. It's there for all types of things. I just want to make the point, really, that having both together, it makes sense, but we should make a difference between them, especially when we present it to staff members, make it clear that this is to staff members, that this includes all activities, not just financial matters. It deals with behavior or any concerns. And that's the danger of saying that it's connected with the previous policy. It is, but it also stands on its own 2 feet. So what I was going to ask, really, the question of training, but I felt I wanted to make that point. But otherwise, I'm happy to approve it. Thank you very much. No one on the screen? Will we adopt this? Would anyone like to approve it? Jump Bill, accept it? Can we have a show of hands? Thank you. That's been carried. Thank you. So we'll move on to item 15. The statute.
copi gyda chi. 250.
Ie, diolch yn
The
cadeirydd.
copy is on page 250.
Eitem yma,
As you see from this item,
Llywodraeth bob blwyddyn yn-
we receive a statutory grant from each year. We set out the government's authority, but due to the election next year, there's no specific governance program for next year. So the letter, as you said,
Did brif weinidog
by the Deputy First Minister, just continues with the priorities that we've been working on over the past year. So there's nothing new with the priorities here. As you can see, includes climate change, the biodiversity, climate, the 30 by 30 that we've already mentioned. There's quite a few, some detail there. And details on budget that we've shared with you before. And things on the Ffermio Bro, the continuation of that. There's more detail in appendix, in the Deputy First Minister's letter himself. But with the obligations, it doesn't really change anything. We will continue with the same priorities. As we set about the work of developing the 2 statutory plans and wait to see what we'll see from any new government when they're in place. Anyone like to ask a question? Make a comment? If this is, we've received this from the government that we have at the moment. Obviously, there will be a new sort of government at the end of next month. Does that mean that we'll receive a different letter? I don't know is the answer to that. This is, there'll be a vacuum without this. So I take it when the new government is in place, we will get new priorities. So there'll be a letter to recognise that. But when and what form it will take. Iwan, do you have anything to add to that? I take it that we get something during the year, sometime during the year. Possibly change direction on a few things. But I'll bring something before you once that happens. The only thing that we need to add, really, we are aware that the fact that things can change. I think that 26, 27 is okay, isn't it? Because it's been done beforehand. There's nothing to stop them changing things once they're in. Okay, so we'll accept that, shall we? Can we have a show of hands that you accept that? Lovely, thank you. We move on to item.
Corporate work programme. This feeds into our well-being strategy. And it also feeds into the strategy that we've just been discussing, of course. We have adopted the well-being objectives for several years now, and we've come to a conclusion that we are extending the current well-being statement. It's aligned with Cynllun Eryri, and we are consulting and incorporating the new well-being objectives. So to all intents and purposes, this will be the last time this work programme will be in its current form. The recommendation is that you discuss it, but the recommendation is that you formally adopt the draft corporate work programme as a working document for 2026-2027. And of course, there will be progress reports that will go to the Performance and Resources committee 3 times a year where we will get the opportunity to further discuss it. And at the end of the process, you will see the final version and the annual report that will go to the authority in the following year. Any questions or comments from anybody? No one? Can we have a show of hands that you accept the report, therefore? Motion carried, thank you. So back to Bethan Hughes at the annual report for social partnership duty. This is the annual report which responds to the relatively new requirements that's been put upon us. That is how we include our labour unions as we develop our well-being objectives and any other strategies that we have, such as the Cynllun Eryri and local development plan. And we have to provide the report on this and present it to the government. Because we're right at the beginning of reviewing the well-being objectives, there's not much to report in this report. But hopefully there will be more to report on next year. It's fair to say that we have a good relationship with our unions, and we are very good at providing opportunities for our staff when we develop the well-being objectives to input into that. So most of the work is already being implemented and established. I've also included details about our staff forum as well as the local joint committee that we have, because several of our staff are not members of our unions. This is another medium of being able to have an input into our local joint via the local joint into the authority's work. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, but the recommendation, as you can see, is to adopt it and submit it to the Social Partnership Council, which is a part of the Welsh Government, as the authority's annual report for the financial year 2025-26. Does anybody want to make any questions or any comments? Will anybody propose the recommendation? Proposed by Trim, seconded by Anwen. Can we have a show of hands, please? On to 18. Members Working Group. Minutes from Wednesday, 21st January. Did you want to discuss these elements both together? If you have no further questions in relation to these, we have a proposal that we accept these minutes. Proposed and seconded by Elwyn. Motion carried. And the last item today, has anybody attended any meetings on behalf of the authority? Salamatu attended the Ffermio Bro panel yesterday. It was a good meeting, wasn't it, really? It was quite positive, wasn't it?
It was. Yeah, I think there was just a different way they presented the grant application, which was more interactive, and I think it went very well.
No, I don't. Maybe not.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else attended any meetings?
Iawn, Dyna ni, i ben, na ni gael...
Okay, the meeting has come to a close. That's the authority meeting and an end now. Thank you. Thank you everybody for attending. There is an assets group later on, but not all of you are on that, of course. So we'll start. It's on a different link. Only some of you are attending that meeting. Okay, then, thank you.
No, it's something like.